Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Kollectiv Knowledge. I am your host, Shane Barrett. You can find me on Twitter at FFShaneB. And joining me tonight for our fourth episode is a friend of mine and a now coworker, I guess, in theory, since we finally worked together, Rocky. You can find him on Twitter at Rocky Petrella. Love that good Italian name. And I
Yes, and
really hope it's Italian.
Rocky from Philly too.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So you can find Rocky on Twitter at DynastyFFAddict. He is the co-host of the Trade Addicts Pod, co-host of the Dynasty Junkies podcast, and now officially a co-host of Dynasty Game Night, which is where we first started working together. So I guested on that with Rocky and a couple other guys last night, and we had a blast. So Rocky, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you inviting me on here. I know it's only the fourth episode. Just those three previous guests. I'm still not sure I even belong in the same company, but I appreciate you thinking of me, and I'm looking forward to tonight.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you and I have been interacting for over a year now. We were in a league together, and so I felt it was right to have someone on who I honestly, even though we've been interacting that long, I don't know much about outside of the interactions that we've had. So figured I could learn some and share with my followers at the same time. So if you guys have watched the show so far, you guys kind of know how this goes. We start finding out about Rocky and how he got started in fantasy football, playing and then creating content, and then we jump into our rapid fire section. So Rocky, you ready to get started?
I am ready.
Awesome. So first question, I always start with this, was when was your first fantasy football league?
I guess technically my first fantasy league was back in the mid 90s. I think my senior year of high school. Yes, okay. I'm that old. And it was back in the day when we weren't on a site. I worked at a J.C. Penney outlet at the local mall, and one of the guys there decided to do it, and he did have to get it from the paper. We did actually use email. We didn't have to have him like mail us the results. But I'm not that good. But I don't really remember much about that league. I think it only lasted like a year or two. And then I really got started kind of in the early 2000s in a league, a redraft league I'm still in. I reconnected with a buddy of mine from grade school, actually. And he was the commissioner of the league. And the league had actually already been running a few years. And he asked me if I wanted to join when they had someone drop out. I've been in that, I think, probably 17 years now. I think it was around 03, 04, somewhere in there. So
and it's still going?
Yeah, a lot of the same guys. There's at least 7 or 8 of the same guys too. Yeah, so
that is awesome. I started playing when I was 10, which was probably around, I got to do math now, and that's not good. Around 2005, if my math's right.
Yes, you told me your age, so that's about right. 2005. 16 years
the
ago,
fact that you've been playing for twice that is really impressive, or almost twice that. So I'm going to ask you about the redraft league that still exists, not your first league since it doesn't. What are the league settings for that?
It's PPR, 1 QB. Up until this year, it had kickers and defenses. I think it's 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a flex, and there was kicking or defense. They actually got rid of kickers this year, finally, but they added a coaching position, which I'm not thrilled about that. It's basically it's just what they're doing is they actually changed commissioners this year too. My buddy's still in the league, but he didn't want to commission anymore, and then the new commission came up with this. And I think all it is if the coach gets, and we would draft them in the draft, but if the coach gets that team gets a win, you get 10 points. If they get a loss, you get nothing. That's basically all that position is.
Yeah. You're actually not the first person that I've heard that has that position. I can't remember. I want to say it was a buddy from either high school or college that plays in a league like that, where it's the same thing. If the team gets a win, coach gets 10 points. If not, you get nothing. So that's really
it's the first time I've ever done it. We're doing it this year for the first time. So I'm curious to see where these coaches go in the draft.
Yeah, that's
They are a little more predictable than kickers, I guess. Who's going to be good and things like that. So
yeah, absolutely. So I don't really have to ask the question, but you made me want to ask it. What are your thoughts on kickers? But we'll leave that alone because
okay.
I think your team no kicker with me. So
yes, I am.
Next question for you, Rocky, is what are your favorite league settings to play in? Like, if you can only add one more league and it's got to be your favorite settings or you're not touching it, what league are you playing?
That's pretty easy for me. It's got to be Dynasty.
Okay.
And it would be 12 team
Hence
PPR super flex with at least a 1.75 tight end premium and preferably at least 10 starting positions. So
okay, I love that. That's that's good deep starting lineup.
Yeah, and I like having, I like the tight end premium. I like especially super flex. Anybody who's listened to me on my podcast knows I am a weight on quarterback kind of guy, even in super flex, but that's why I like it. It still makes them more valuable. It allows me to do what I think is taking advantage of the fact that they're more valuable by not overdrafting them, where I think a lot of people do. So,
yeah.
And the tight end premium kind of does the same thing. It helps boost up the tight end position. So yeah, making all the positions matter more is that's the way I like to play it.
Cool. I'm actually writing an article that you will like. So I'll tag you in it or send it to you. And it's kind of along those same lines of like, you got a deep starting lineup, you got a shallow starting lineup. How do you draft it? So I'll shoot that over to you once it's written. Okay. Next question. Actually, this question I don't. Oh, no, I do. Okay. I was prepared. So when did you start making fantasy football content, Rocky?
I kind of like what I said about my first league. I actually in summer of 2019, I actually did write a few articles for a now defunct site called Goal Line Fantasy.
Okay.
But I did kind of help me discover that writing's not really for me. I have a family of 6, including myself, 4 kids, so it takes up a lot of time, and I just didn't have the patience or the time to kind of do writing. I think the way I could put something out, but to do it right, I didn't think I really had the time or patience for that with all the other stuff I had going on. And after that, I didn't really do anything for a while. And then last, I guess it was April, because the first episode was right after the draft. Started up Pod Dynasty Junkies with my original host and friend Dustin Church. We're in Trade Addicts, one of Russ Fisher's Trade Addicts leagues together.
Nice.
And it just came from the group chat. We kind of were joking about it. And his Twitter handle is DynastyJunkieFF. I'm an addict. I said, well, we could make a podcast. It'll be an addict and a junkie. And then he DM'd me. He's like, we're going to do this? So I was like, I guess so. And I never really planned on podcasting. Dustin kind of pushed me into it. But I'm glad I did, because obviously I really enjoyed it. I'm now part of 3 different podcasts. So it's been a lot of fun. And I know a lot of people started because of it wasn't really the pandemic. It was just that happened to be the time that it ended up happening. Like I said, it's not something I was like, oh, I'm sitting around in the pandemic, I want a podcast. I never thought I would do this. But now that I am, I'm having a blast.
Yeah, honestly, that's similar to me. It wasn't, oh, I'm bored in the pandemic. It was more of, I'm getting more involved in the fantasy community. Let's do a podcast.
Yeah, and that's the thing for me too. I was very involved in the fantasy community before all this. I found Dynasty Twitter around 2018. And I was already commissioning some leagues that I mainly started through Twitter, finding people through Twitter and stuff like that. I would put out a lot of polls. I would tweet a lot of stuff, and I already had it for some reason, a decent follower base of 2,500 people or something by the time I started the podcast. So I was like, maybe some of these people will listen. So why not?
Awesome. That's great, man. So you mentioned you've got 4 kids?
4 kids, yes.
How many girls, how many boys, and ages, if you don't mind?
Sure, no problem. 2 and 2.
Okay.
It's funny. I tell this to people sometimes. Before I had any kids, I used to say I wanted 4 kids, and I wanted 2 boys and 2 girls, so that everyone could have a brother and a sister. I thought that would be great.
That's awesome.
But be careful what you wish for. But anyway, yeah, it's 2 boys, 2 girls. The youngest is boy 10, girl 15. Boy who's going to be turning 19 in September, and girl who is 20. So yeah, 2 of them are now in college. Starting in September.
Nice. Very nice.
So I'm very old. That's getting pointed out on this podcast.
That's not what I was going for. It was more of the 15-year-old girl, just because I remember my sister when she was that age.
Yeah, she's the little troublemaker too. The 15-year-old. So.
I bet. So, thanks for sharing that with us, because that's really cool.
I like them.
What's up, Nick? And I don't know if you saw earlier, but Nate said, "Hey."
Hey, Nate. Nate was on that Dynasty game night last night too. By the way, check it out when it comes out, everybody.
And he sucked. So, spoiler alert. What was your? You kind of answered the next question a little bit with that question, which was what made you start. We kind of discussed that already, but what was your first piece of content that you made for fantasy football? Was it an article or a podcast?
Yeah, it was that like I said, article back in July. I don't remember. Like I said, I did 2 or 3. I think one of them was kind of a general lower end guys that you should be looking at this season. I don't even remember exactly what it was. Like I said, it wasn't something I was deep into like a lot of guys are. It was something somebody I figured I'd try it, and like I said, I decided it wasn't for me. So I don't remember exactly what that was, but something like that. I remember. I remember somehow telling Nelson Aguilar, which probably was not a good take. But as a deeper
was
guy,
that when he was with the Eagles still?
I think it was still, and I don't think he had a good year that year. I think that was not the one good year he had. But yeah, and then after that, like I said, was the podcast started last April. The very first show we did was post draft, talking about rookies. Nice. Actually, with my now co-host on Trade Addicts, Russ Fisher was our first guest. So that was a fun one. Yeah.
Very cool. All right. So next question for you, Rocky, is explain your handle. Why are you the DynastyFFAddict?
It's funny. I wasn't trying to create I know everybody has FF in their handle in the industry. I didn't even realize that at the time. That's how I got into Twitter. Basically, I had a Twitter account. I'm not even sure since when. I think maybe 2016 or 17. Didn't really use it, and then somehow I came upon Dynasty Twitter, and that's when I knew I actually wanted to participate in Twitter. And I just tried to think of it's when I got into Dynasty. I've been playing Dynasty since 2015 or 16, but 2018 was when I started getting into Twitter leagues and becoming a degenerate and all that. So it seemed to make sense. I love Dynasty fantasy football. It's just the random handle I came up with, DynastyFFAddict, and I've stuck. I actually think it was that was my Twitter name for a little while. I actually, when I started, I think I was just at Rocky Petrella. Because that wasn't taken, and when I signed up for Twitter, I just used my name. And then once I started becoming getting more followers and becoming more involved in stuff, I decided to change the handle and rebrand, so to speak.
Nice, I like it. And yet, I mean, talk about degenerates. How many leagues are you in?
I don't know the exact number. It's upwards of 30. I think MFL has me in. I think MFL says I'm in like 40, but that includes some SFB mocks.
Okay,
and that haven't been deleted, and some other things that haven't been deleted. It also includes SFB, which is on MFL. So it's upwards of 30. I don't know if I want to know the exact number.
I counted a week or two ago, and it was 30 plus, and I'm pretty sure I've joined more best ball leagues since then. So I don't really want to talk about it either.
Yeah, that doesn't even include the redraft league I was telling you about earlier, and a family and friends one I do every year as well. So those two will be added very shortly. So,
what is your favorite thing about the fantasy football community, Rocky?
Pretty much, and I think other people have given a similar answer on your show. Just the way everybody supports each other. It's we're in a group chat together where everyone is super supportive of each other. Everybody's got everybody's back, and on top of that, besides just that kind of aspect of being supportive, there's the whole charity thing, which is great. You do the one you're doing. I don't. It's Polly's. I can't remember.
Polly's Playoff.
Polly's Playoff. I didn't want to get it wrong. And Scott Fishbowl. And I remember too, I mean, not to be a downer, but if you remember, James the Brain Catullus was a great analyst who was on the Superflex Super Show. And I remember when he passed away, and people he literally got like thousands of dollars donated to a PayPal that was set up for him. From the fantasy football community, which I thought was amazing to see. So yeah, the way everybody just, like I said, supports everybody. I mean, you'll get your occasional trolls, but it's not from people really within the community, especially content creators. The people who are doing this are all super supportive of each other, despite the fact that I guess in a sense we're all quote unquote competing against each other, but everybody just wants everybody to do well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that, and I love that, especially like you mentioned the charity aspect. The fantasy football industry is very generous with its time and its money. And I personally couldn't be more thankful for that, especially with the tournament that I do run. So I appreciate you shouting that out too.
Yep.
All right. Before we transition to rapid fire, what are some hobbies that you have outside of fantasy football?
Yeah, when you asked me to do this, I said I hope I'm not too boring for this. And this is kind of the question I was thinking. I would love to say I like go mountain climbing on the weekends, or go play with my band or something. I don't know. I don't really do this is my hobby basically.
Yeah.
I don't do a lot outside of this. I guess especially like I said, there's a lot of family time. I have a day job that I have to work 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm mostly just watching TV, watching movies, and I guess the one other thing I could think of, it could sort of be considered how we do a lot of family game nights. So I do like to play a lot of games, which is probably how I ended up worming my way into Dynasty Game Night. Yeah, like we do a lot of. I don't know if you're familiar with catchphrase, categories, a lot of those type of games. We like the word games around here. So
okay, cool. Yeah. This isn't on the show sheet, but what's your favorite board game or word game?
It probably would be catchphrase.
Okay.
That's a pretty fun one. Just because you got the timer and everyone's trying to get their words out. So it usually makes you laugh when you're doing it. So
absolutely. Yeah. I think we've played that late at night, me and my sister, and it's just like, where are these things coming from?
And it's almost even more fun. I'm sorry. It's almost even more fun when you're playing with just adults and you're like drinking and people can't figure out what the hell to say, and they're just like, everyone's just saying stupid shit, and I say shit on this podcast, sorry. And it just kind of makes you crack up. So yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And yes, you can say shit on this podcast. It's family friendly. So all right, Ricky, are you ready to move on to rapid fire?
I am, Shane. I am.
Okay, cool. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a joke since he called me Scott on his own show last night. So rapid fire, we're gonna fire these off. I know some of these answers already, but we'll go for it anyway. Favorite NFL team?
Clearly the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm in Philly. I am a hometown guy.
Cool. Favorite sport that's not football?
I don't really love anything besides football. I mean, I pay attention to all of them, especially the Philadelphia teams. So I'll probably say baseball, because that's the one I'm into probably most after that. And my dad's basically just a baseball guy, so it kind of bonds us together, football and baseball. Yeah, so
love it. Favorite food?
This is another interesting question, because I think I've mentioned this in other podcasts. I have horrible food. I have the palate of like a 10-year-old. So I'll probably just say like pizza or something, because I can eat pizza I know some people hate certain pizza. I'll eat any pizza. Like people hate Domino's pizza. It's good, fine for me. Pizza Hut pizza, I'll eat it. I don't care. Give me pizza, man, and I'll eat it.
I completely agree. This is going to be a controversial question, and it's not on the show sheet. Are you a pineapple on pizza guy or no?
Oh, hell no. You are a pineapple on pizza guy?
It's not like my go-to topping. And I didn't like it. Like, I didn't even really try it before I started dating my now wife. But then it's her favorite topping. So whenever we get pizza, we get one with pineapple on it. So I've come to really, really enjoy it. It adds a sweetness to it that you don't normally get with pizza, and it's different. But I like the combination of flavors.
Speaking of my horrible food today, I'm not a big toppings on pizza guy. I love bacon.
Okay. Yeah.
If you've ever had meatballs on pizza, that's good.
Yeah.
Sausage, I'm good with. That's about it. I'm not a big pepperoni guy.
Okay.
I'm fine with plain, obviously, but most of the other toppings I don't really mess around with.
Nice. Favorite sports movie?
Favorite sports movie? I would probably say Field of Dreams.
Oh, that's a good one. If you build it, they will.
Yes. I guess I'm a sucker for those sentimental, father-son moment type of things. Yeah. That kind of thing.
Yeah. I love that. The Rookie is another good one.
Yeah.
I love that one. Me and my dad used to watch that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, favorite non-sports movie?
Favorite non-sports movie. I'm again old. So a lot of my favorite movies are from the 80s. I believe Linda said The Breakfast Club when she was on here. That's a favorite of mine. My favorite would probably be The Princess Bride.
Oh, that's such a good movie.
It is. It's amazing. I got my kid, at least a couple of my kids, to get into it too. They love it. They do the Inigo Montoya thing, and yeah. And Ferris Bueller's Day Off would be another one.
That's another classic.
Yes.
Bueller. So my sister-in-law just came down the stairs and she's giving me a funny look. Like, what the hell are you talking about? All right. Favorite band?
Bare Naked Ladies.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I just love their I got into them after like most people probably who like them you got heard the song 1 week back in the day, and
it's been 1 weweek since you
that's it. And then I started that was like on their 4th album. I started finding some of their older stuff, and it's real. I love they do different songs about different types of things, like 1 week and pop culture references, and they're funny, and that's just kind of my wheelhouse. Yeah,
absolutely. No, that's a great band. I think it's one of my mom's favorite bands too.
Make me feel even older, Shane. That's the theme of this podcast. You should just title it "Rocky is Old."
Okay, so funny story. I'm in a league with Jeff Lambert, and my team name in that league on Sleeper is Jeff is Old.
I like it. So, how old is Jeff? He's probably still younger than me.
No, I think he's about the same age.
Oh, okay.
You're 40. How old are you? 44?
44.
Yeah, I think he's around the same age. He'll probably come at me and be like, "No, I'm only 42."
I tend to be one of the older people in any group I'm in the fantasy football community. So
that's right.
I feel young.
Well, that's why you got friends like me who are 26 with a hairline to keep you young.
See, I actually have a decent hairline. I got some hair up here, but
yeah, I cut mine recently, so I'm still adjusting to it. It's a lot shorter than I've gone in a long, long time. Okay, favorite adult beverage?
That's easy.
Yuengling
Lager. I'm pretty much a beer guy. I love Yuenglings. I'm often drinking a Yuengling on a podcast. Cheers. I'm often drinking a Yuengling on a podcast, and I think I need to figure out a way to get myself associated with Yuengling the way like Steffi is with White Claw and Linda is with Truly. And maybe I can get a sponsorship from Yuengling.
We need to. We'll work on that. We can pull that off. Tycoon paying you a comment. You're 44? Dang, man, you don't look it at all. Never would have guessed. Must be that clean living. You look pretty good for 44.
Thank you. I try.
All right. Favorite TV show?
This is one probably you're not going to be expecting, but I was a big fan. It's not the most critically acclaimed show ever, but it did get some critical acclaim. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is one of my favorite shows of all time.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it's if you haven't seen it, it's very well written. It's not just some dumb teenage horror show.
Okay.
There's a lot of good dramatic moments, and it's very funny. If you're familiar with maybe Joss Whedon from the Marvel stuff, he did Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Okay.
So it's a really good show. So that would be my choice. I was super into that when it was out.
Cool. And we were talking about this the other day. You're a fan of The Walking Dead too, right?
I am, yes.
Okay, so would you compare the storylines and the writing, not obviously exactly the same to The Walking Dead, but kind of similar style or similar intrigue?
No, it's kind of different. Like Walking Dead is much more serious, much more downbeat. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, as you can tell from the title, is a little more upbeat, and there's a lot more there's comedy elements in it, but there's also like super dramatic elements to it. If anybody who has watched the show, there's an episode where it's all about her mom dying, and it takes place in almost real time, and that was like a really well written episode. So it's just that maybe has more similarities to The Walking Dead than the rest of the show did, but yeah, Walking Dead's way more of a downer type show than Buffy the Vampire Slayer was.
Guess that's what it says about me when that's my favorite show.
No, I really like the show. Like I think I mentioned in our chat that I still like it to this day. I know a lot of people thought it went downhill like 5 seasons ago. I still enjoy it, but
no, I do too. I'm trying to catch up because I haven't.
Yeah, I don't think I finished season 10 yet either, but
yeah, I think it just came out on Netflix this week though, so I'm trying to rewatch it and catch up so I can watch season 10, and then season 11's supposed to come out soon, I think.
Yeah, I think which is supposed to be the last one, and they're going to do a spin-off, I think, or something.
Yeah, I think they're supposed to do a movie, and I'm really looking forward to that because Rick is supposed to be back in that.
I heard they're supposed to do a trio of movies with Rick in them or something.
Ooh, yeah, that's good to know. Who's your favorite Walking Dead character?
Oh gosh, there's so many.
I've got two.
One initially came to mind, which would be Eugene.
Really?
Eugene, he's fun. He's like the beacon of light in the in The Walking Dead. And then I guess Rick would probably, Rick's the easy answer, but Rick I thought was a great character. And Michonne, I love Michonne too.
Yeah, no, I think Rick seems like an easy answer, but if you've watched the show, you know how many ups and downs and turns and twists and paths that his whole story has been on, and it's just really well developed, I think. And so
and he went off the deep end at times to be an unlikable kind of guy at times.
Yeah, definitely. So he's one of mine, and then my other one is Negan. I love Negan.
How could I forget? I said Negan too. Yeah, Negan's definitely in there.
Okay, this question has technically already been answered, but I'm going to ask it so I can ask the follow-up question. And I think I know the answer to that too. But where are you from?
Philly.
And which Philadelphia sports team is your favorite?
Oh, yeah. The Eagles. It's Eagles. It's like the Eagles are up here, and then everyone else is down here. Then it's like Phillies.
Phillies is number 2?
Yeah.
Gotcha. What do you think the Sixers will trade Ben Simmons?
I sure hope so. I don't think it's happened yet because I haven't gotten any Twitter alerts, and tonight was a good night for it to happen with the draft going on. But it's time's up, Ben. It's over.
Yeah.
I don't know if you paid attention to the NBA playoffs or the Sixers in particular, but in the last game where they got eliminated, he passed up a dunk because he was afraid, I guess, to get fouled or something. I don't know why. He was literally right under the basket with nobody on him and passed the ball. And that's when collectively everyone in Philadelphia was like, see ya.
Yeah. And that's not a group of people that I'd want telling me see you, because it's probably curse word laden.
Yeah. We get a bad rap sometimes, but we definitely can be harsh when we turn against you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Rocky, that wraps up the episode. Thank you so much for coming on. Again, you can find Rocky as at DynastyFFAddict on Twitter. He's the co-host of the Trade Addicts Pod, co-host of the Dynasty Junkies, and co-host of Dynasty Game Night. Rocky, is there anything else that you'd like to say or plug before we go?
That's basically, those are all my things. So I guess also Dynasty Junkies and Trade Addicts can be found on the DAP network, podcast network that includes those two shows, plus Fantasy Timeline, which is a great show, and Get Real with Casey Kasem. So you can subscribe to DAP network. The podcast feed or the YouTube feed, you can get all 4 of those shows. And follow it at DAP_network, and you'll see when some Timeline and Junkies go live. I think the other 2 do not. So you can see, though, when they come up on Twitter or YouTube if you subscribe. So I guess that would be it. And I guess the other thing would be Junkies also actually broadcast at 9:30. So as soon as you're finished watching this, go find Dynasty Junkies and watch the rest of that.
Absolutely.
Because it usually goes longer than a half an hour.
Yeah, and Andrew is hosting that tonight, right?
Yes, we I never, like, I'm sorry to extend your show here. With Junkies, I just never once it's I almost had planned to end it. My original co-host left last December. Like I mentioned, Dustin Stretch. We're still great friends. He just couldn't do the podcast anymore. And shortly after, Russ asked me to come do Trade Addicts because his co-host happened to leave around the same time, and I didn't plan to do Junkies again. Then I brought it back. But I just didn't feel like I could do 2 every week. So yeah, it's still gonna keep going every week, but it's just not gonna be me on there every week.
Cool. Shout out to Andrew Hall.
Yes. And also Scott Sidlow at Scott_Sidlow. He's also coming back, and we're gonna be kind of rotating as hosts.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, Rocky, thanks again for coming on. It was a pleasure. And this is Kollectiv Knowledge. Cheers.